Let me start with something that might unsettle you. Everything you've been told about being a high-value woman is likely wrong. The internet is saturated with surface-level prescriptions. Be mysterious. Never text first. Make him chase you. Dress impeccably. Stay emotionally unavailable. These aren't strategies for high value. They're performances of insecurity disguised as confidence. We're not discussing playing games or manipulation tactics. The exhausting choreography of pretending to be unbothered while internally analyzing every text message is not our focus. This approach is a breeding ground for anxiety and resentment, not genuine connection. It positions dating as a game to be won, rather than a journey of mutual discovery. I'm your psychologist, and for 15 years, I've studied the psychology of self-worth and relationship dynamics. What I've observed is this. The women who create the most fulfilling lives and relationships aren't the ones performing value. They're the ones who've developed what I call psychological sovereignty. This is a state of profound self-ownership, where your sense of worth is generated internally, not awarded by external sources. A high-value woman, in psychological terms, is someone who has achieved 3 critical developmental milestones. First, high self-awareness. She understands her patterns, triggers, and motivations with clinical precision. She can identify why she feels a certain way and trace it back to its roots, rather than being a passenger in her own emotional landscape. Second, emotional autonomy. Her emotional state isn't held hostage by external circumstances or other people's behaviors. She can experience disappointment or joy without letting it define her entire sense of self. Her peace is not contingent on someone else's approval. Third, unwavering authenticity. She operates from her core values, not from a script of what she thinks will make her lovable. She is willing to be disliked for who she is, rather than loved for who she is not. This is the bedrock of genuine connection. This isn't about becoming cold or unavailable. It's about developing what attachment theorists call a secure base. Except that base is internal, not external. You become your own secure base. The uncomfortable truth. Most dating advice teaches you to manage other people's perceptions. What we're discussing today is managing your own psychological infrastructure. This is infinitely more challenging and infinitely more powerful. It requires introspection, courage, and a willingness to confront your own uncomfortable truths. To understand high-value psychology, we must first examine attachment theory. Your attachment style, formed in early childhood, creates the blueprint for how you navigate relationships. A woman with secure attachment exhibits specific behaviors. She's comfortable with intimacy but doesn't lose herself in it. She trusts without naivety. She can tolerate relationship uncertainty without catastrophizing. She believes in her own worthiness of love and is able to give and receive it freely. Contrast this with anxious attachment, constantly seeking reassurance, interpreting neutral behaviors as rejection, abandoning personal boundaries to maintain connection. This isn't love, it's survival mode. Or avoidant attachment, where intimacy feels threatening, leading to emotional distance and a reluctance to depend on others. Here's what the research tells us. Approximately 60% of adults have insecure attachment styles. But, and this is crucial, attachment styles are not fixed. Through what we call earned security, you can literally rewire your nervous system's response to relationships. This involves consciously choosing new behaviors and thought patterns until they become your new default. Now, let's discuss the architecture of self-concept. Picture 2 buildings. Building A has its foundation built on external validation, compliments, attention, relationship status. Every external storm threatens its stability. A delayed text can feel like an earthquake. A breakup can feel like a demolition. Building B has internal scaffolding, self-knowledge, values alignment, emotional regulation skills. External weather might affect the surface, but the structure remains intact. This woman can weather the storms of life without crumbling, because her foundation is solid. Research from self-determination theory shows that people with a strong internal locus of control report 40% higher life satisfaction and significantly lower anxiety in relationships. The difference between knowing you're worthy and needing others to confirm it is the difference between security and perpetual anxiety. When you operate from internal validation, you stop asking, "Does he like me?" and start asking, "Do I like how I feel in this dynamic?" This isn't narcissism, it's psychological maturity. It's about recognizing that you are an active participant in your own life, not a passive recipient of someone else's affection. Think of it this way. A tree with deep roots doesn't worry about the wind. It bends, it adapts, but it doesn't uproot. Your work is to develop those roots, your values, your self-trust, your emotional resilience. This internal framework isn't built overnight. It requires what I call deliberate psychological practice. Consciously choosing responses that align with your secure self, even when your anxious patterns are screaming for attention. It's about making the conscious choice, again and again, to honor your own needs and feelings. Let's demystify boundaries. They're not walls, punishments, or manipulation tactics. Boundaries are simply your values made visible. They are the invisible lines you draw around yourself to protect your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. Consider your emotional and mental energy as a finite resource like a battery with 100 units daily. Boundaries determine where those units go. Without them, you'll find your energy depleted by things that don't matter to you. Here's what a boundary sounds like from a secure place. I need Sunday mornings for myself. This time is non-negotiable because it's when I restore my energy for the week. Notice? No over-explanation, no apologizing, no aggression, just clear communication of a need, or, "I'm not available to talk on the phone after 10 p.m. I need that time to wind down." Compare this to boundary setting from insecurity. "Fine, if you can't respect my time, then maybe we shouldn't talk at all." This isn't a boundary. It's emotional dysregulation disguised as strength. It's a threat, not a statement of need. The psychology here is critical. Secure boundaries come from self-authorization. You don't need permission or agreement. You're informing, not negotiating your core needs. Let's discuss emotional self-regulation, what I call the sacred pause. When triggered, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, hijacks your prefrontal cortex where logical thinking occurs. This hijack lasts approximately 90 seconds neurologically. This is the moment when you're most likely to say or do something you'll later regret. The high-value response? Take those 90 seconds. Step away. Breathe. Ask yourself, what would my most secure self do here? He cancels plans last minute. Your anxious attachment wants to send multiple texts analyzing why. Your avoidant side wants to ghost him entirely. Your secure self acknowledges the disappointment, communicates if necessary. "That's disappointing. Let me know when you want to reschedule." Then redirects energy toward your own life. You go to the gym, you call a friend, you work on your project. You don't let someone else's actions derail your entire evening. Finally, let's discuss intentional dating versus hope-based dating. Hope-based dating. Accepting any attention, adapting yourself to fit undefined situations, waiting for clarity that never comes. It's a passive approach that leaves you feeling powerless. Intentional dating. Knowing your relationship goals, communicating them clearly, and gracefully exiting dynamics that don't align. This isn't about having a rigid checklist. It's about what psychologists call goal-directed behavior. Every action moves you toward or away from your desired life. When you date intentionally, you stop asking, "Why didn't he text back?" and start asking, "Is this communication style what I want in a partner?" This shift changes everything. You become the gatekeeper of your own heart. Here's what happens when you implement this framework. You become a psychological filter. Low-effort individuals, emotional manipulators, people seeking to exploit insecurity, they self-select out. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely unavailable for dynamics that don't meet your standards. Your clear boundaries and self-respect are a language they don't speak. Research on relationship satisfaction shows that women with strong personal boundaries report 50% less relationship anxiety and significantly higher relationship quality when they do partner. This is the paradox. When you stop needing a relationship to complete you, you become capable of creating extraordinary relationships. You're choosing from abundance, not scarcity. A high-value woman's life is full before anyone enters it. Her purpose, friendships, interests, growth. These aren't placeholders waiting for romance. They're the main event. A relationship is a wonderful addition to her life, not the center of it. This is what makes her so magnetic. She doesn't need anything from anyone. I worked with a client, let's call her Sarah. For years she dated from anxiety, accepting breadcrumbs, analyzing mixed signals. After 6 months of building her internal framework, she said something profound. I realized I was so busy trying to be chosen that I forgot I was the one doing the choosing. This is the ultimate goal. Not finding someone who validates your worth, but operating from such deep self-knowledge that you can accurately assess who deserves access to your life. You become the discerning one, the one who decides if someone is a good fit for you. The outcome isn't just a relationship, it's psychological freedom, peace in your nervous system, consistency in your self-worth, alignment between your values and your choices. Here's your challenge, and it's not easy, the 48-hour boundary experiment. For the next 48 hours, practice one non-negotiable boundary. Choose something small but meaningful. Perhaps not responding to texts after 9 p.m., or taking 20 minutes each morning for yourself before engaging with anyone. When you feel the urge to break this boundary, and you will, pause. Notice the discomfort. Is it fear of disappointment? Guilt? Sit with that discomfort without acting on it. This is how you build psychological strength, one conscious choice at a time. Each time you honor your boundary, you cast a vote for the woman you want to be. Remember, high value isn't something you perform, it's something you develop internally through consistent psychological work. It's not about being perfect or unaffected. It's about being psychologically sovereign, the author of your own life. Your worth was never up for debate. The only question is whether you're ready to stop seeking permission to own it. The power has been in your hands all along. Now it's time to claim it.